at a time. Yeah, this is tea time. Yeah. Making a difference. One cup at a time. Tea time. So be sure to grab your tea, grab a seat, and tune in to Miss Liz. Tea time. Making a difference. One cup at a time. Tea time, yeah. Tea time.
Well, welcome to tea time. You know what that means. It's time for tea. And we don't serve a beverage in this house. We serve storytelling and words. So get your juice, glass of wine, uh, coffee, tea, whatever you'd like to drink. You don't need to drink tea to listen to Tea Time with Miss Liz. But before we get started, I just want to wish all of my guests and my friends and family in the U.S. a happy Thanksgiving. And I hope you guys are all safe and celebrating with your loved ones. So today I have the amazing Kyle Coon in the house, and we're going to be talking about his life story. And we're going to be talking, his tea is Live Without Limits. So that's a type of tea that we'll be serving today. So before we get started, we're going to get you guys over to Miss Liz's YouTube channel, and we're going to get you to subscribe to that channel. We're going to get you to ring that little doorbell so you're notified when these tea times are live, or if you want to watch the replays. And you can watch over 400 interviews of different walks of life and different stories and books and all of that good stuff. Miss Liz gives you a little bit of everything. So let's get started with the disclaimer and then bio, and then I'm going to get Kyle in here and we're going to spill some tea together, and we're going to have some fun this afternoon with all of you guys. Disclaimer for Miss Liz's Tea Time live show. Miss Liz myself is going live using StreamYard. Before leaving a comment, please grant StreamYard permission to see your name at StreamYard.com. Please be advised that the content brought forward for any Tea Time show hosted by myself, Miss Liz, is always brought forward in good faith. However, may bring forth dialogues and opinions that are not representative of my platform. The facts and information are perceived to be accurate at the given time of airing. All Tea Time guests and audience participants are responsible for using their good judgment in taking any action that may relate to the discussion. The content brought forward may include discussions for some where they may be emotionally at risk. It is significant to know that this show is engaging in discussion forums only to offer and inspire awareness and connection, and is not providing therapeutical advice. If you have any questions about the disclaimer or the panelist discussion, you may freely contact me, Miss Liz, through my email at bookymissliz@gmail.com. Moving forward, should you choose to voluntarily participate in today's show in any aspect, I myself, Miss Liz, welcomes you. And should you decide that this show is not made for you at this time, I respect those wishes, and we'll see you at a later date and show in the future. Now, again, all regular Tea Time shows are done on a Thursday, 3 p.m. and 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you see a Tea Time on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday now, it is a surprise Tea Time, rescheduled Tea Time, or a special Tea Time. And you know how Miss Liz likes to do it. I just like to serve tea all the time. So now a little bit on my guest. Well, who is Kyle Coon? Kyle Coon is a Paralympian, I'm not saying it right, professional speaker, author, podcaster, and exactly what's up to say certified guide. He lost his sight at the age of 6 after a battle with retoplasmia. Shortly after losing his sight, he was encouraged to live and pursue a life of adventures by world-class blind athlete Erik Weihenmayer. I didn't get Kyle to say whatever I can't pronounce right, so I don't want to show any disrespect to anything. Coon took Weihenmayer's advice to heart and went on to become a competitive rock climber, downhill skier, wrestler, and endurance athlete. After graduating from the University of Central Florida with a degree in communications, Coon struggled finding employment for more than a year. During that time, he fell into some very unhealthy habits until he decided enough was enough and he needed to fix his life. He reached out to the online endurance community and found someone willing to guide him for a run. From there, he fell in love with running, which morphed into a love and passion for triathlon. Coon went on to compete internationally for the Team USA as a professional paratriathlete. I'm not saying that right. I'll get him to say it. He represented Team USA in the 2020 and the 2024 Paralympics in the Paratriathlete. Um, when not competing as a triathlete, he speaks to groups, companies, and organizations about the importance of value, keeping an eye on your vision, and how to adapt a high performance approach when it comes to conversational excellence. I'm going to get Kyle to say all those hard, complicated words for myself. I'm sure some of you guys know what Kyle does, but let's get Kyle to say it so we show a lot of respect for all of the incredible stuff he does. So I'm going to get Kyle in here and we're going to spill some tea together. Welcome, Kyle.
Hey, Miss Liz. Well, thank you so much for having
I
me.
can't hear you.
Uh-oh. Can you hear me now?
I got you. I got
Okay,
you.
there we go. There we go. There we go. Well, thanks so much, Miss Liz, for having me in here today. It's great to be here.
So Kyle, let me get you to say what I couldn't pronounce correctly. I really want to get it out there for anybody that's listening. They're probably like,
Yeah.
"What is she trying to say? What tongue twister is this
Uh,
girl got?" Like,
yeah. Not, it's, the all of it is, it is funny how all of it is kind of a tongue twister, but just the short of it is, so I'm a two-time Paralympian in the sport of paratriathlon. So is some of your your listeners, your guests may be aware, the Olympics and Paralympics happen every 4 years. So the Paralympics are for athletes with medically verified disabilities, whether that be a cognitive disability, a neurological impairment, or a physical disability or impairment. And it's a very highly competitive athletic endeavor. You have to go through a very stringent process to race and train and qualify on the world stage. And so the the term para it means alongside. It's Greek for
oh,
alongside, and so that's why we use the term Paralympics, Paralympian, para triathlon. So I myself, I'm a para triathlete. So I'm a triathlete, and then the para gets tagged onto the front end of that to because we're all very proud that we are that we represent the Paralympic movement because we compete right alongside our able-bodied counterparts. And then the gentleman that I got connected with, who basically encouraged me to live a life of adventure back when I was 7, 8 years old. After I shortly lost my sight, his name is Erik Weihenmayer. He After I met him, he actually went on to become pretty well known for being the first totally blind man to climb the seven summits, which is the tallest mountain on each continent, and that includes Mount Everest. So I think I hit all of them, but yeah, that's and then so but the how I lost my sight was I was diagnosed with a rare form of eye cancer called retinoblastoma. And
that's the other word I couldn't
yeah,
say.
yeah. So yeah, that one is one that trips everybody up, and they're like, wait, what? Huh? What is this foreign word? So no, it's just a super techie, technical medical term, but it's retinoblastoma. So it's cancer of the eye. About 1 in 15 or 20,000 kids are diagnosed with it every year. It specifically attacks the retinas, and my specific cancer. I had no family history of it, and it attacked both of my eyes, and so I went through 5 or 6 years of just very intensive treatment, which eventually the only way to completely get rid of the cancer 100% was to remove my left eye when I was 5, and I had my right eye removed just before I turned 7.
Oh wow. So there must have been a lot of adjustments as a child, Kyle.
Yeah, so I mean, as a kid, like I didn't really know what was going on. Like you know, I knew that I was in and out of the hospital. I knew I was sick. My parents knew that I was eventually going to go uh, that I was eventually going to go totally blind. But you know, for me as a kid, I just said, hey, you know, doctors, can you please just you know make me better so I can go outside and play with my friends? Like, yeah, because you know, this being confined to a hospital bed, this kind of stinks. You know, this really stinks. And like, you know, I'm meant to be out there rollerblading, biking, roughhousing, you know, playing basketball, playing football, all those things that I'm supposed to be doing with my friends. And well, so the way the doctors, you know, eventually got rid of the cancer was by taking my eyes away, and you know, it was definitely an adjustment period, and you know, for a time there, I really did struggle, and I wondered, well, what on earth is, you know, what on earth can a kid that can't see do? And that is when you know I got connected with Erik, and he sat me down and he said, "Hey, look, just because you're blind does not mean you are helpless. You know, there are still a ton of things you can do. You know, you just have to be creative." So he challenged me to go out and try rock climbing, and that was something that we really I was really passionate about, and I was like, okay, this sounds cool. I want to try it because it just sounds crazy.
So, Kyle, we have a question here for you. How were what symptoms were there for your parents to find out about the eye cancer?
So retinoblastoma, you know, my is generally found actually through like photographs. So like you know, my parents you know would take you know a photograph, and then that you could there was some type of reflection. It's known as the glow. Um, I'm not exactly sure what the technical term is, but the there was some type of reflection or something where like when you took a photograph, you could look back through the photos and you could actually see you know these white spots in my
Oh,
eyes. And then also my you know my mom noticed that you know I think my eye one of my eyes was crossing. You know my eyes were shaking when I tried to follow something, and then you know and then at you know when my mom brought it up to the pediatrician you know went through and did some you know some basic eye tests, and you know shined some infrared lights and such into my eyes, and then referred us out to a specialist. But um, a really good account to follow. Um, a really good Instagram account to follow actually is an organization that brings awareness to uh, diseases like retinoblastoma and other you know eye cancer related diseases. It's called Know the Glow. So if you check them out, Know the Glow. You can just Google them or find them on Instagram. They run campaigns all the time so that parents and you know family members and people know the signs to look out for when it comes to eye cancer and eye diseases.
well, you know, it's important to get that information out there, you know, because there's so much going on in the world that sometimes we just don't see these things, right? We don't know these locations and services and programs out there until we
Yep,
get them out there, like through your stories and that as well, Kyle. Um,
exactly.
So, Kyle, how did you go from losing your eyes to rock climbing to running to all of this incredible stuff? Like you're really an inspiration to a lot of people who, you know, might feel that helpless. Oh my God, I can't see, I can't do this. So, how did you like overcome all of that?
Oh my goodness. Well, you know, like I mentioned, getting connected with the right people was a big start. So, you know, I was you know 7 or 8 years old, and my dad was involved in Rotary. So he was a member of a Rotary club, and I think he missed a meeting or something at some point, and um, a one of his Rotary Club members heard a gentleman by the name of Ed Weihenmayer speak at a Rotary Club or some event, and she, you know, pulled my dad aside at a meeting one time and said, "Hey, this man Ed Weihenmayer talked about his totally blind son Erik, who is this amazing skydiver, marathoner, rock climber, mountain climber, skier. Like he's just and he's really cool. And so I actually got his contact information for you because I think it could be a really great way for Kyle to connect with someone to look up to. And so my dad got a hold of Ed, and and Ed happened to live in live where close by to where we were living at the time, and so he arranged for Erik to the next time Erik came into town for a speaking engagement, or I think it was a speaking engagement or something, and so Ed arranged for Erik and I to sit down and have a conversation, and Erik just told me about what he did, about his life and his life growing up as a blind kid, and he challenged me to not let my blindness get in the way and to be creative and to figure out how I can do different things. And so we had a family friend that was a member of the rock climbing gym in town, and they took us to the climbing gym, fell in love with that sport, and just started going to the climbing gym a lot. And eventually my whole family started rock climbing, and my parents put my sisters and me in on the competitive climbing team. So we were traveling around the state of Florida, climbing at various gyms and competing. And then that spun off into, oh, well, if we're going to be climbing in, gyms, well, then we eventually got to get outside and rock climb. So my family started taking camping and climbing trips. And, we would drive up to Georgia, Tennessee, North Carolina, just all over the Southeast United States. And, and that little, those outdoor adventures led to me getting involved with Boy Scouts, which led to, me getting involved with other outdoor adventure type stuff. And, eventually we started heading out west to Colorado to start skiing as a family. And it just kind of all built on from there until I looked up and I was like, oh, wow, like I just, this is what I do. I'm an adventure athlete. I'm a person that just pursues adventure, and I figure out how to do it, even though I can't see. So that's really how it started, and then how I found my way into endurance sport was kind kind of by accident. Or I
I don't
guess
know.
on
I think your
accident.
accidents have turned into adventures.
Yeah. I mean, the accident, turned into adventures, and but endurance sport, came after I was a rock climber, and I had wrestled throughout high school, and I actually wrestled for a couple of years in college, and then after I left the wrestling team in college, I got into teaching group exercise at my university recreation and wellness center. And, so I was teaching indoor cycling, like spin classes. I was teaching, you know, washboard abs and, strength-based group exercise classes and all that, different kind of stuff. And so that was my first job, like when I was in college. And then when I graduated college, I was, I can confidently now say that I was quite arrogant, and I thought, because I had done so many really cool things in my life that I was CEO material. And so I applied for every job CEO and above. And
But
I,
you don't. If you don't try, you don't know, right? You might as
right,
well
right.
start at the top and then go all the way down, right?
Yeah, and that's pretty much what I did. I tell people all the time, I just climbed my way down the corporate ladder until I fell off the bottom rung and hit the ground and started digging a hole. So, but eventually, what happened was I looked up and I was 30 pounds heavier than when I had graduated from college. I had no job. I was deep in debt, and I had no money, and I had very little hope at that point of ever getting a job or being employed. Um, and I decided, well, if I can't, the one thing I can do is at least try to get my body back in shape. And well, the only thing I can really afford to do at this point is run. So I decided that I was going to try to figure out how a blind guy runs. I mean, I'd figured out how a blind guy rock climbs and skis and all of that stuff. So I was like, well, I just Googled, how does a blind guy run, and found out I needed a running guide, someone to tell me where to go. And well, that made sense. And I found a website that connected people who were open to being guides for blind and visually impaired runners with blind and visually impaired athletes. And I sent a few emails. One guy responded, and well, beggars can't be choosers, and met up with him for a run, and we started running together. And he happened to be a triathlete, and basically did tell me that, well, running is dumb, you should do triathlon. And so I believed him, and here we are about 10 years later.
So what's the difference between running and triathlon?
So triathlon is a sport that consists of swimming, cycling, and running. So
okay, so the 3 in 1.
Yep. So it's 3 sports. It's 3 disciplines combined into one sport. So it's an open water swim, immediately followed by some distance of biking. Then you immediately come off the bike and you run. And so the most famous triathlons that everyone knows, that a lot of people know about it, is the Ironman distance, triathlon, which is a 2.4 mile swim, a 112 mile bike, and a 26.2 mile run. So it's for our kilometer, for our people that know kilometers, you can it's a 3.8K swim, about 180K bike, and then a 42 kilometer run. So it's you get about 17 hours to do the entire event. And so that's known as Ironman. And so that's what I initially went into triathlon thinking I was going to pursue. But the range of triathlon distances are wide and varied, from super short triathlons all the way up to multi-day Ironman triathlons, and all everything in between. So I did wind up doing a few Ironmans. I did some half Ironmans. I did some Olympic distance races, and for the last 6 years, so since about 2018, I have focused and specialized in sprint triathlon, because that is the distance that we compete at the Paralympic level. So that is a 750 meter swim, followed immediately by a 20 kilometer bike and a 5 kilometer run.
Wow. So Kyle, when we booked this Teatime, you were heading out to Paris for the Olympics.
Yes.
So how did that go?
Paris was quite the experience. So I had gone into into this Paralympic cycle, really focused and dedicated with the idea that my primary goal was to come home with a medal, whether that was gold, silver, or bronze. I didn't care. I wanted to come home with a medal, and if I didn't come home with a medal, I wanted to know that I had left no stone unturned and given it everything I had in my preparation and my day of race execution. The world had some other plans, so I arrived in Paris, and we had actually gone to a little pre-training camp about a month before our race, and so we trained in Vichy, France for several weeks, and then we transferred over to Paris, and we were staying in the Paralympic Village, and we were putting our final preparations in, and as some people may be aware, one of the big concerns around the Paris Olympic and Paralympic Games was the water quality of the Seine River, and the Seine is where the triathlon and open water swimming events were to take place. and it was a legitimate concern. And so, in the few days leading into our race, we had some weather rolling in, and so they started shifting our race calendar around. So I was initially supposed to race on September 2nd. They moved the race to September 1st to try and avoid some rainstorms that could affect the water quality. And then I woke up on September 1st, ready to race. Wake up at 4 a.m. and wake up to the sound of not my alarm, but my guide getting sick, and just throwing up and just in a bad spot. And so got him to our medical team, and not 15 20 minutes after that, we get an email saying that the race has now been moved to September 2nd. But I'm in a bit of a pickle because my guide is in just he's not in a good position to be able to give it 100% or even 90 or 80%. He was probably at like 50% of what he could have done. And so fortunately we did bring a reserve guide, and so we pivoted and switched to my reserve guide. And I wound up racing with my reserve guide on September 2nd. Had a really, really good swim, actually. Came out of the water second. I was the second person out of the water. But because my reserve guide and I had not put as much time in on the bike that my primary guide and I had, we lost quite a bit of time on the bike, and so we fell from second place all the way back to probably 10th or 11th, and came off the bike in I think ninth or 10th place, and then we had to run our way through the field. And by the time we came off the bike, the chances at a podium were really, really, really slim. So we did our absolute best, and ran my way up into finish 8th place. But still really, really proud of the way I handled that pivot. Really proud of the way my reserve guide stepped up, and really proud of my primary guide for recognizing that he wasn't at on that day, he was not the strongest that he could be, it still hurts my heart because he had put in so many years to be brought down by a sickness that it was a bummer. We had prepared for so many years to race at that level together, and we didn't get that chance. And I didn't have the race that I had prepared or planned for, but I executed to the best of my ability on that given day with the tools and people that were around me. And I can't ask any more of myself.
So Kyle, are you doing the next Olympics?
Oh, that's a question that I get asked a lot, and all I can say is that we'll see. I put in, I made it to Tokyo. I was only 40 seconds off the podium in Tokyo, and finished in 5th place. And then I put a lot of time, money, and effort into trying to go to Paris, and coming home with a medal, and wasn't able to accomplish that goal. But at the same time, it takes a lot of emotional energy. It took a lot of emotional energy to prepare for the Paralympics, and so I'm taking a step back and taking a little bit of time away for at least the next 6 to 12 months to figure out if Los Angeles is in the cards for me. So right now, it's a we'll see. I haven't quite decided. Yeah.
Well, and this is the message that I tell a lot of my listeners in the audience and my friends and family. Sometimes we have to step back, right? We have to reevaluate, is it worth it? Is there something different? Is there something in that I'm not seeing that's here right now that I can do?
Mhm.
You know, am I being guided somewhere else? You know, and maybe that's the direction that you're going, Kyle. Is it, you know, that something else is coming for you?
Exactly. And look, so, if this is the close to my, professional triathlon career, I've had a pretty good one. I can't complain about it. If it's not, the best is yet to come. But there's so many different paths and so many different ways that we can, fill our own cup, how we fill our own cup of tea, just like you said near the beginning, like, it doesn't have to be tea. It can be coffee, it can be water, it can be an alcoholic beverage, it can be whatever floats your boat, floats your fancy. We all fill our cups of tea up in different ways. And, for me, I don't know what the next adventure is going to be. But there's a lot of things on my bucket list, of my wish list, of that I still want to experience a whole lot of things. I want to spend more time with, my girlfriend, my family, my nieces and nephews. I want to spend more quality time with with our dogs, all kinds of things. And then there's a lot of other, just adventurous type stuff. You know, I want to get back into some road marathon running. I want to, try my hand at some ski mountaineering. I want to do some big mountain running events and stuff like that. And it's really hard to juggle all that when you're trying to, train and, perfect your craft at a really difficult sport like triathlon, and you're trying to peak for one single day in 4 years.
Absolutely. And Kyle, you gave me a couple of teas, but the tea that you gave me that we're going to talk about this afternoon is live without limits. And that's what you're doing, is you're living without limits, right? Because you want to
Hmm.
just keep trying stuff. But the other teas that you also gave me was eye on a vision, high performance approach, keep it simple, do simple well, and do simple better. Like those are all incredible strong teas because you're coming at different angles, right? You're coming at different flows and different spills at different times.
Absolutely. Look, you know, I gave you the top of the pyramid. So how do we live without limits? Well, let's take it all the way to the bottom. We break it down. We keep it simple. We do those simple things that we've identified really, really well. We do those simple things that we do really, really well, and we try to do better at them. And that's ultimately what it means to take a high performance approach to living without limits. So, in high performance sport, we put the people, our success is determined by, our discipline, the habits that we form, but more importantly, by the people that we surround ourselves with. And so, I break it down to very simple things, and that is, the keep it simple. Sometimes I throw a second S in there and I say, keep it stupid simple. So that I can,
Sometimes that stupid does make a difference.
it really does. It really does. And then
It
you
adds
just
a
do the,
sugar in the tea. Come on, guys, it adds the
I
spice.
know. Exactly. It's just a little spice, spicing up the tea, a little
Right?
chai in there, Um,
If you bring the
um,
humor in, you go a long way. Like, you got to
exactly.
throw humor in there in order to survive.
Absolutely. And so look, it's the people and the habits that you surround yourself with and that you establish that allows you to, keep an eye on your vision. A vision that I have had for myself is, look, I want to live without limits. I know that there are limits to what I can do. Um, but my goal is to take those limits and push them further out, and eventually I'll push those limits further and further and further out in a way to where they become so far out there that I can't reach them. Like, I can't reach my limits. So and that's really what I mean by, living without limits, and all of those T's that we talk about, the high performance approach, the keeping an eye on your, eye on vision, um, keep it simple, do simple well, do simple better. All of that leads to us being able to live without limits.
Well, I think nothing's impossible, right?
Absolutely not. It's
If you fall down, you get back up. If you scratch your knee, you put a Band-Aid on it and you fix it and you carry on, right?
I put a Band-Aid on. I just rub dirt on it. I mean, come on, who needs a Band-Aid?
Rub some dirt. Keep it simple.
Exactly.
Got no time for Band-Aids. What you talking about?
we got places to go, people to see, things to do.
I got to get to that mountain.
Exactly.
I love your approach in life, Kyle, as you start from the top, right? Start with the CEO and then go the way down. But that's almost like the skiing. You go skiing and you start at the top of the hill and you go your way down.
Exactly. Then guess what? You look back up. And you're like, how do I get back up there? I could
right,
take
and then you got to go all the way back up and start again.
Yeah, it's look, we all say we have to start at the bottom and work our way up, but if you have to know where you're going in order to get there, to plan your route and to plan your route, up to the top. So, if I know that I want to be at the top, whatever that top may be, it doesn't have to be CEO, it doesn't have to be the top of a mountain, but sometimes we have to know or have an idea of a destination or a goal that we're working toward, and we have to be willing to shoot and miss at it, so that we take chances and we push our ingenuity and our abilities, and we stretch ourselves in new and different ways, and that's where the fun comes in, because if I shoot and miss at a goal, well, man, I still have a whole lot of fun trying to figure out how to make it there, and I may land in another spot where I get pulled in another direction to pursue a different goal. I initially thought that I wanted to be a CEO, and I shot for that, and wound up at hitting rock bottom and found endurance sport, and climbed my way up to near the top of the mountain, being one of the best athletes in the world in the sport of triathlon. It's not a bad way to find your way to, not a bad way to think about things. So there's all kinds of paths that we can take, but sometimes we gotta have a vision or an idea of where we want to go, so that we can start planning a way to get there.
So, Kyle, we have a question here for you. Are you a daredevil, rebel, or a limit pusher?
Yes.
Yes, Paul.
No, I don't know if I would, pigeonhole myself into any of those. I definitely consider myself a limit pusher. Like I said before, I do like to, don't try to cram me into a little box, because I'm just gonna push with my hands, my back, my head, and my feet in every direction. Just make that box bigger, and I'm just going to keep expanding that box. Some may call me a daredevil, but I am a very calculated, I am a very calculated risk taker. So I don't know if I would consider myself a daredevil, but I definitely like to push the limits. I like to push the limits. I like to find my limits, and I like to push beyond them.
I love that question. I
That was a good one.
I love
like
that you said, I love that you said yes right away. I was just like, oh, he's all three. I could see you as a jack in the box there, Kyle. Like, they crank you and then poof, I'm out. Like,
oh yeah, I've definitely been compared to that. I mean, jack of the box, jack of many trades, whatever you want to call me.
So, Kyle, I want to get into the book, because you have an incredible book that I would like the audience to check out. Could you tell us a little bit about the book?
For sure. So, my book that I wrote is Discovering a Life Without Limits: How Cancer Took My Sight, Blindness Gave Me Vision, and the Mountains Let Me Live. And I always knew that I wanted to write a book, and so I actually started writing it way back at high school, and I just started like documenting my life and being super detailed about everything. And I kept putting the book on the shelf, and I'd let it sit there for a while, and then I'd take it back off and write a little more and put it back on the shelf. And eventually I looked up and I was like, man, this book is way too big and way too thick. I got to figure something out. And I was already, so I started shopping it around, trying to find publishers. And, then I went down the self-publishing route. And, eventually I did come across a great independent publisher called Walnut Street Publishing. And we agreed that, it was a really, I had a unique, cool story. But maybe I should break it up into a couple of different parts. And so the reason I titled this, my first book, Discovering a Life Without Limits, was because it details my journey from, the time I was born up to the time when I found my way into endurance sport and I found my way into triathlon. And, while I had started talking about how to live without limits and live a life without limits, I didn't like really growing up. I was just discovering how to do that. And so so Discovering a Life Without Limits, just it shares, the lessons that I learned growing up and learning how to, push my limits and, tell story, it tells it through the lens of some of the adventures that I had growing up. And the next book will be, I think, even better because it'll cover the lessons that I learned through being a high performance athlete, competing at the highest levels of sport, and maybe some other lessons in there as well.
So Kyle, you must like heights because you like everything at the top.
I like stuff at the top, but the adventure happens on the side of the mountain at the end of the day. It is a journey to get to the top, and things that if I just took an elevator straight to the top, the view's not worth it. I mean, trust me. I look out and view from the top of a mountain, view from the top of a building or a ladder. To me, it's all the same. But it is that journey of that climb of getting up to the top. I love the journey. I love working my way and figuring out the puzzle to get to the top. That's ultimately what I like.
So Kyle, because you've lost your eyesight, what view do you see when you get to the mountaintop?
From a visually, I don't see a thing. But there are other ways to experience seeing the world. You know, for me, if we're talking in a literal sense, when I'm standing on top of a rock face or standing on top of a mountain or something like that, you can feel the vast openness of the world around you. You can hear the sounds, smell the smells, feel the wind, feel the sun, feel the rain or the snow. My climbing teammates or my friends describe the beautiful view. So I see the world in that way. And then if we go to the metaphorical sense, it's look, you know I feel all the aches and the pains and the struggle and the scars and everything that helped get me to the top. I feel I feel and see all of it, and it's been one heck of a journey. So I guess you could say that that's what I see.
Well, and the reason that I asked that question was because a lot of viewers and listeners out there will be saying, well, he talks about vision a lot, but he can't see. So why does he keep? That doesn't mean, the inner self, your inner T, you can still see within, right? You can still
Yep.
have people around you, your loved ones, describe things like you said.
Yep.
And when I asked you to give me one word to describe yourself, Kyle, you gave me the word open. And here you were talking about openness. So
Mm-hmm.
tell me a little bit more about the word open for you.
Being open, if you're like let's take a step back and think about it for a second. how many people out there, in the world see themselves as open-minded? I would guess that probably, more than 90% of people would actually put their hands up, but every single person in the world likes to see themselves as open-minded. So I just choose to be that way. Because if you're closed-minded, then it's hard to find the right path. Like if you just sit in a room in a box and there's no opening, well, then how are you going to get out there and explore? How are you going to find a path? Um, and so being open to new ideas, new possibilities, new paths, being open to follow, your own path that you create. Just being open to things is very powerful, I think. To me, like, if I had been closed off to, if I had gone into my meeting with Erik way back when I was 7 or 8 years old, being closed-minded and thinking, there's no way I will ever be able to do anything as a blind person, I would not be sitting here talking to you about, T's and, vision and high performance and, living without limits and all the things. I don't know. I don't know where I would be. And I don't want to, I don't want to go down that road thinking of where
Yeah.
I might be.
Well, and that's
But
why
because,
that's
so
what I think is really encouraging, right? Is for all the listeners out there that might have that, "No, I can't do it." Yeah, you can
you
try.
can't. Yeah. You just have to, if you tell yourself, I can't see myself doing that, well, then you won't ever do it.
Yeah.
But if you can see yourself doing something, or you can just imagine yourself, you know, doing something, all of a sudden there's this little crack of daylight, this crack of hope that says, well, if I can see it, maybe I can think about it a little bit more. Maybe, then how would that make me feel if I accomplished that? Oh, well, then maybe I can start to see, start putting a puzzle piece or two together and find my way. And oh, look at that. All of a sudden we go from I can't see myself doing that to I see myself doing that to I'm working to accomplish that.
Yeah. Well, I when you said open and close, I am going back to that Jack in the Box. I don't know why, but when we're closed minded, we're in that box and nobody's cranking that
Yep,
cranking us to get going, right? That push, that
exactly.
encouragement. And I could see you coming up and jumping, like, no, I'm not staying in the box. Like, let me
Yep.
out. Like somebody crank that thing.
Yeah. But and look, there's a lot of talk out there about, oh, you have to be internally motivated. Well, we can be, someone can, sometimes it takes a kick in the rear to get you going. For me, Erik was that initial kick in the rear. I often say that Erik just verbally slapped me upside the head and said, dude, get out of your own way. And then, I also put the people in my, I also listened to the people in my life, like my parents. My parents kick me in the rear still to this day, 33 years after my birth. And then, my girlfriend, my triathlon teammates, you know, putting the right people around you, that have your best interests in mind, and that people want to help you grow and develop. And then you also put the people around you that you want to help them grow and develop as well. So you all feed off of each other. You build each other up. You create this culture of excellence, and and then all of a sudden, what we're doing is we're not just, it's not just me being the jack in the box. Someone cranking that handle and making me spring out. What's then happening is, as soon as I'm springing out, I'm also turning, someone else's, jack in the box handle to help them spring out, and they're doing the same. And and it's this big long chain and circle and wheel and all of it. So
Well, it's all team building, right? One cranks, open. One
Yep,
cranks, open. And then we have a big old team and we have some celebration.
absolutely.
I don't know why Jack in the Box came in, but it's just the way it works, right? And life comes, and then I'm just like, what am I talking about? But
It works. It works.
that's what I seen when I seen that you were that push the limits,
Yep,
because
absolutely.
I'm the same way, Kyle. I don't want to be put in a box. If you want to put me in a box, get away from me, because I'm gonna push that box open, because we need that push open. We need that enforcement. We need that encouragement in life to just keep trying and put dirt on your cuts, not band-aids, guys. Like, continue the journey.
Hey, if you want to put me in a box, come on in with me, and I'll show you how we break out of this thing.
Right? And we'll use the dirt, not the band-aids.
Exactly, exactly.
So, Kyle, I want to get into, in your bio, you have here exactly what to say certified guide. What is that?
So, so exactly what to say. So what I essentially do in my professional life, through my professional speaking, through some podcasting and stuff like that, is I've really discovered that a lot of the opportunities that exist in my life and that have allowed me to find success is through communication. Through being able to ask questions, to develop and have conversations, to develop deeper, more meaningful relationships. And those relationships are what open the opportunities. And then, from those opportunities, we can, if we have the courage, we can then take action. And so exactly what to say is a framework where we help people. It was started by a gentleman, a top sales trainer, a learning and development expert, Phil M. Jones. He wrote a book called Exactly What to Say, and I am one of, I believe we have 40 of us that are certified to help guide people in their conversational excellence, so that they too can communicate more confidently, open up more opportunities, and overcome the challenges that present themselves in the world. Because we do very strongly believe that any issue in the world can be, like, we can change the world just by changing our words, changing how we communicate a little bit.
Absolutely. Everything starts with a conversation, right?
Absolutely. It starts with conversations. And how do you start conversations? You ask questions. You ask curious questions. You ask empathetic questions. And only when we can get to a position of empathy can we then have the courage to ask, make an ask, or have the courage to make a sale, or have the courage to help someone change, or help ourselves change. So it all starts with being curious, asking questions, having conversations to develop relationships, and then that's where the opportunities arise.
Absolutely. So, Kyle, I want to get into, before we wrap up, because we're almost at the end here. You have an amazing podcast out there. So let's talk about the podcast, because I like pushing podcasters out there, because I like to support other podcasts. So tell me a little bit about your podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. So I had to push pause on it for a short little time here while I was doing the final preparations for the Paralympic Games. But my podcast that I launched back at the beginning of 2023 is Kicking It with the K Train, and it's where I bring on people that have helped me keep an eye on my vision. That have helped develop me and shown me the path to success. So I have conversations with them, and kind of help other people see how these people in my life have helped me grow into the successful human being that I am today. And we'll be starting in 2025, we'll be continuing to build on that podcast. And I'm also looking at launching a new podcast in 2025, with some teammates of mine called the Resident Table. So be on the lookout for that one as well. But yeah, Kicking It with the K Train is my personal podcast, and then the Resident Table that'll be coming very soon in 2025 as well.
And where can people find that podcast?
You can find Kicking It with the K Train. You can find it on my YouTube channel, just Kyle Coon. You can find it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, just basically wherever you get wherever pods are cast. You can find it. So Kicking It with the K Train, or you can just search Kyle Coon and it'll pop up.
So Kyle, do you have any events coming up that you'd like to get out there, or any special congratulations to anybody? Hello, shout outs?
Oh boy. So look, just to, just a big shout out to just my entire, the entire team of people that have helped me get to where I am, from my my family to my girlfriend to the Exactly What to Say certified guide community. Just huge shout outs to all of those people. I will actually be I'll be in Houston, Texas, coming up here the third weekend of January. I'll be running the Houston Half Marathon. So if anyone out there are runners, or you're in the Houston area, please reach out to me on Instagram. Shoot me a direct message. Would love to get a conversation going with you. Would love to meet you in person. Let's grab a photo together. That'd be amazing. But yeah, if you wanna keep up with my various adventures, follow me. Give me a follow on Instagram, and let's keep the conversation going.
Awesome. So before we wrap up, I asked you what your favorite color was, Kyle, and you gave me the color green. Why green?
Oh, why green? Why green? It's been a favorite color of mine since since I was a little kid, and I think a lot of it had to do with I just when I could see, I loved the the view of green grass and green trees, and to me it was it's a color of hope and growth and vitality, and there's no matter what, it's green shows growth, and I think that's a big thing for me, is that I'm always trying to grow into a better version of myself. I'm always trying to grow to get better at whatever I try to do.
And what final message would you have for any of the youngins out there?
Oh, the youngins. Be patient. Be patient. Keep it simple. Do simple well. Do simple better. Because that's how you're going to live without limits.
Don't forget to add that extra S sometimes.
Exactly. Sometimes you got to keep it stupid simple.
So Kyle, before we wrap up, if you'd like to just spell out your website so any of the audio listeners can jump over and check you out.
Absolutely. So you can find me at KYLECOON.com. That's KyleCoon.com. You can also find me on Instagram. It's probably the best way to get a hold of me. And my Instagram is at Iron Kyle. That's EYERONKYLE.
Awesome. Well, it was a real pleasure sitting and talking with you today, talking about going from the top to the bottom, to jack in boxes, to keeping it simple, stupid. We covered it all tonight on Tea Time with Miss Liz and Kyle. I want to thank all the listeners and supporters out there. Thank you for your questions. Without you guys, I could not do this. We are wrapping it up. Miss Liz has 14 tea times left, and then we are done. So checked out all of the tea times on Miss Liz's YouTube channel. Again, we're going to run you over to the YouTube channel. Get you to subscribe there. Also, check out Kyle's website and go and give him a follow. Check out his book. Grab a copy. If you'd like to speak to him or have him on your podcast, reach out to him and I can connect you as well. And again, I'll see everybody tonight at 7 p.m. with the second tea time, where we have the Sad Time podcast coming in. We have Kevin Kristen coming in. We're going to talk about mental health and all of that good stuff, but we're going to just talk. We're going to have a conversation because that's where it all begins, right? Conversation is the beginning of all things. And keep serving your tea, keep being true to yourself, and we will make a difference with tea. Not the beverage, but the tea within all of us. And we're going to serve Kyle's tea as we wrap it up with Live Without Limits. So until 7 p.m., I wish you guys all the best. Stay tuned, and Miss Liz will be back until tonight.